All right, so verse 2 of Stairway to Heaven. It's a great song to learn. It's one of the first songs that I learned, and you can really, there's two parts to it. One guitar is playing the open chords. Let's see. So the progression is that's, I'm not quite sure, that's probably, yeah, so it's C, E minor, and then A minor. So it's really just, it's C, E minor, A minor, and then he does so it's basically playing the C shape and then the E minor without your ring finger down. So the D string is open, right? So instead of playing an E minor when you have both fingers down, so he goes into the C shape, open, and then he does this hammer on the B string on the 3rd fret into the hammer on, open, 1st fret, B string. So it's and then pinky, 3rd fret, hammer on. So that's kind of the little riff. It's oops. And then you're gonna play the D string of the A minor shape, D string, and then back to A. So it's back to the, and then it's F. So an F chord is a bar chord, right? It's basically it's here's a little bit of theory is E major, right? The next note on the scale. So E goes to F. There's no, I believe E goes to F, and there's no sharp flat in the middle, I believe. So now, or maybe F sharp. No, it's F. It's F. So there, E, F, B, C, E, F are the whole steps in the scale, I think. So that's the extent of my theory knowledge. But so you go to E, and then if you just pretend you had a capo here, and you play the same E major shape, one fret down the neck, goes to an F. So you're basically playing an F without the bar. It makes it more of a minor sounding, and you would know more about that than I do, but and then to the A minor. So all together we have So now here's the cool part, and this is what I learned later on when I was playing in 5-card draw. Is Russell is big on theory, and so I found out that about triads, and as you can probably tell, my theory knowledge is not great, but there's a triad for every chord, and those 3 notes, I believe, maybe make up most of the scales or some of the scales. So if you look up the chord, you can look up the triad, and the triad is, you can play them all over the neck, and that helps with soloing. So what Jimmy Page does in Stairway to Heaven is, so C, this is the C chord, this is the C triad. So I believe it's the same notes, but I didn't know that when I first learned this, when I was first learning guitar. But it's really cool, and this is kind of like a theory applied situation, where the C chord is being played on the main melody as an arpeggio, where the notes, if you don't know what an arpeggio is where instead of playing the chord like this, you play the note, each individual note, you kind of just rake down the string, like. So like Hallelujah, for example, is arpeggio, whole way. Anyways, so it's an arpeggio shape, and so this is the cool part, right? And I would highly recommend you learn this, because if you have any sort of way of, you could record yourself play the main part really slow. And then you can play on top of your guitar, which is the coolest shit in the world. When you can combine those 2 sounds that you play to make a completely dynamic sound. So C chord, C triad. So this is the riff that I was looking to find in Songster that I highly recommended you to learn, but instead the Songster version has it played way up here, which is probably in the same triad shape, with the 12-string guitar, so it's probably a little different with the notes, or the same notes, but just different position on the neck. So they both will work. But so if you take your middle finger and your ring finger, and you put your middle finger on the 5th fret of the G string, and your ring finger on the 5th fret of the B string, and then put your pointer finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. You can make that shape. It's the same as the C chord. So that riff that you hear in that verse, if you really listen, you hear the main riff, and then you hear on top of that with like an electric guitar, like with some chorus and some reverb behind it, plays this. So I'll show you what I play there. You start with the shape that I showed you earlier, and just play the arpeggio. So G, B, E, G strings, and then you take your middle finger and you slide down one. And then you might have trouble doing this, but if you practice this, you'll get it. And it's another really good skill of guitar, which is barring strings. And this is the most basic example of barring a string. with a 2-string bar with your pointer finger. It's the easiest bar to learn. So try it and see how it works for you. So we start, and then you're gonna take your pointer finger and bar the B and the E string on the 3rd fret. So if we just bar, if we do it like this, just bar the B and the E, and then try and keep that same position and add your middle finger. And what I found, this is kind of mechanics that you'll as you practice, your body will kind of naturally sink in the most efficient way to play. And so what I found to kind of get you in the right direction is when you're playing a bar, a 2-string bar like this, what I found is if you take your wrist, see if I can get a good angle on this. So your wrist, so in a normal position, your wrist is kind of high. Let's see. It's high, or it's up like this. I don't really know how to describe that. It's up. And when you bar, you want to drop your arm down. You want to make sure your elbow is far down and your knuckles are up. So that way, that gives you the most room for your fingers to work. Because if you're trying to bar the string and the pad of your thumb here is resting really hard on the neck, it's going to be harder to play those bar chords. You want to, instead of being uptight up here, you want to really drop that elbow and really curve that wrist like you're playing violin or something. That's just a little tip for that that may help with that riff. So back to what we said at the beginning: middle finger, ring finger, 5th fret on the G and the B, and then your pointer finger on the E, 3rd fret, and then bar those strings. So in the picking pattern is the same. You're going G, B, E, G, and then G, B, E, G. And so if you practice that, hell, like, that's a good drill you can do to work on everything. Palm muting is another thing. So anyways, and then this is another cool, so all this that you're learning here, you're gonna develop skills. For example, the slide is a really good solo technique, really good non-solo technique, learning how to slide. It's pretty easy, there's nothing really to it, but it's all about getting the muscle memory to have clear notes. So we're gonna go, and then all the way back up to the 2nd fret of the G string with the pointer finger. So that little riff is. Right, it sounds a little weird right now, but it'll all come together. And now this is going to be a tough one, but we're doing the same thing we did when barring the 2 strings on the 3rd fret with that second triad, but we're gonna use our pinky. And we're gonna bar 5th fret, B and E string. And this brings the pinky in. Pinky's gonna be weak. It's probably not gonna sound right at first, but I'm telling you, if you practice and you work at it, if you work at this riff, you're gonna develop so many skills that are gonna help you become a better guitar player. So let's keep going. So we got so 4th slide to 5th on the G, 2 notes on the 2nd fret of the G, then we bar the B and the E, and then we go to the 1st fret, the B string. So all together we have all together it's and then you're going to complete that and go back around and it will repeat. Once we do the, you're going to go to the G string, 2nd fret, and you're just going to kind of do one of those ascending back up to the C. So 2, 4, 5. And then, just like we did the first riff, when we did the end of the sequence, we're gonna play the same chord, the F, but this one has the kind of bass notes in it. But this lead version has your open F, your easiest way to play F, which is just 1st fret B string, 1st fret B string, 2nd fret G string, 3rd fret D string, and just strum those 3. That's it. And then we're gonna do A minor and just do the same 3 strings. So don't strum the whole thing, just those 3 strings. So all together it's So dude, if you learn that, and you play that, you get that down, and then you play this on top of it, it will change everything. Guaranteed. Or your money back. Hope you enjoyed my shitty lesson. Peace.